All right, so where are we? So last week we were working on revising how we conjugate verbs in the present tense, right? Now we conjugated tener and we conjugated hacer. And so one of the things I wanted to do was to give us some idiomatic expressions with both of those verbs, right? Those verbs are very important. In Spanish, there are a lot of expressions with them and a lot of things we could do with them, right? So I have a sheet with some right now, this nice handout here with some images. Right, we're gonna go through. I bet a lot of them you already know, right? So tener calor, what does that mean? To be hot, right? Literally to have heat. Now, you'll notice as we go through this that a lot of the expressions, the equivalent is English is I am. I am hot, it is hot, the verb to be, right? But in Spanish, we use tener for it. All right, tener frío is, of course, to be cold. Tener hambre, to be hungry, right? Tener sed, to be thirsty. Tener miedo, to be scared, to be frightened. Right, to be afraid. Right, tener dolor de cabeza, to have a headache. Now, any cabeza is the example here, but of course it could be a pain in any part of your body. Right? Tener dolor de los ojos, I have a pain in my eyes. Tener dolor de los hombros, I have a pain in my shoulder. Okay, tener sueño. To be sleepy, right? Right. So yes. What is tener suerte? To sorry, to be lucky. Right. Tener éxito. To be successful. Tener celos, a very useful expression, probably one that we don't do as much. To be jealous, to have envy, to have jealousy. Tener cuidado, to be careful. Tener razón, to be right. To be embarrassed. Tener vergüenza, literally to have shame, right? Okay, so I'm just realizing the ones at the bottom have the English written in, so I don't need to do that for us, right? All right. Tener ganas de, we've met this one, right? To feel like doing something. You could feel like going to sleep. You could feel like reading a book. You could feel like watching a movie. So we would add the infinitive, right? So plus the infinitive. To be in a hurry, tener prisa. Or you can think to yourself and ask yourself, what other tener expressions do you know? I'll give you a minute to notice and come up with some more expressions. Okay, just a few additional ones. This is from Kiara, tener un buen día, to have a good day. Did we have sleepy on the slide before? I can't remember now, I've changed it. If we didn't, tener sueño, right? To be sleepy. Oh, we have sleepy. All right, well, let me just show you this modification then. Tener mucho sueño. So if you need to modify any of the adjectives or adverbs that you have there, then we put in mucho, right? Tener mucho hambre, tener mucho sed, tener mucha suerte. Right? It has to agree with the noun, right? What about, did we do yeah, I think we did. Oh, okay. Remember this expression. How do we say how old you are? How do you say your age in Spanish? Tener however many años, right? So this is to be however many years. When you were little and somebody asked you how old you are, did you ever say I have any number? Or do you know anyone who says I have any number? So I have 8 years, I have 10 years. Usually it'll be children, right? So we use tener to express our age. All right, can you all do an exercise if once you've written down everything you need to from here, can you put your age in the chat? Can you tell me how old you are in the chat? So I'm gonna give you some questions here, right? Number 1, ¿cuántos años tienes? ¿Cuántos años tiene tu papá? Right? And then lastly, ¿cuántos años tienen sus abuelos? You could answer that as they're both the same age, or you could break it up into a different age for each of them. Try these, and you can put your answer in the chat. No, it doesn't have to be accurate ages. That's not what I'm checking. I'm checking that we could conjugate tener with different subjects. So just make an estimate. Right. So tengo 14, well, however many, right? Tengo, whatever your number is, años for the first one, right? Don't forget the verb, right? Mi papá tiene, however many years you want to put, años. Don't forget the verb, you must have tiene, right? And then the last one, mis abuelos tienen, however many años, right? So last week we conjugated tener, and we talked about how the first person, the yo form is irregular, tengo, and then the stem changes to from E to IE. So we get Tiene, tiene, tenemos, it goes back to the regular E, and then tienen for the last one, right? All right, half a minute, and we're going back to our verbs. Right, ready to continue, right? Okay, so let us go back to our verbs. That's this document here. All right, so we stopped at prior last time, right? So it's starting with saber, to know, in the sense of facts and information. All right, now who has done saber? Who has conjugated saber before? So you know what the irregular part of it is. It's the yo form, right? It's say. So when we conjugate it, we write it out. We say yo sé. Tú sabes, ella sabe, nosotros sabemos, ellas saben, right? All right, so let's look at what that looks like. We say yo sé. So I know is say. Sabes, you know. Ella, usted sabe. Nosotros sabemos. Ellas, ustedes saben. Right. So if we go to the yo form, yo sé hablar 3 idiomas. I know how to speak 3 languages. All right. Tú sabes dónde está la estación de tren. Do you know where the train station is? Ellos saben la respuesta correcta. They know the correct answer, right? Okay, so similar to saber, to know, we have conocer, to know, right? But this is in the sense of like to be acquainted with, to be familiar with. Right, so the irregular form again is the yo form. So yo conozco. Right? And then we go to tú conoces. Usted conoce. Conocemos. Ellos, ellas, ustedes conocen. So it's just the yo form that is irregular. All right. Then we have the IR verbs. Conduzco. We'll go back and put in the answers to the sentences in a second, right? Conduzco. Yo conduzco. Then tú conduces. Ella, usted conduce. Nosotros conducimos. And ellos, ellas, ustedes conducen. This verb is to drive, as in to drive a car. Okay. Let's fill any missing forms of the verb. Yo conozco, I know a lot of people in the city. I'm familiar with a lot of people in the city. Tú conoces. Do you know the math professor? Nosotros conocemos. We know. We know this restaurant well, right? We're very familiar with this restaurant. Okay, conducir. Yo conduzco. I drive a new car. Tú conduces. Do you drive to the beach this weekend? Right, that's number 8. Number 9, mi hermano conduce. And if you have any questions, let me know, right? This weird cough. I don't know. All right, can I clear this away? Can we move on? If anybody is still writing, let me know, right? You have 10 seconds. Right, okay, so producir and traducir are just like conducir above, and there's an irregular first person, and then the rest follows the normal pattern. So what do you think the difference is for the yo form? Produzco. Produces. Right, produce. Producimos. Producen. Same for traducir to translate, traduzco, etc. Right? Stem changing, radical changing, and boot verbs, right? I think the most common thing that teachers used to refer to is stem changing. So what we need to remember with these stem changing verbs is that the nosotros and, well, we don't do nosotros form. So the nosotros form, the nosotros stem does not change. Only. Right? So when we revise these stem changing verbs, really what I'm checking to see is that we remember the stems. Okay? All right, so we can start with cerrar, to close. So we would change the E to IE, right? So it's yo cierro, cierras, cierra. Then we go back for the nosotros form. So cerramos, right? And then again, cierran. They close, right? For volver, the stem changes from O to UE. So this O becomes UE, as the video was saying, right? The sound. So vuelvo, vuelves, vuelve. We go back to VO for nosotros. Volvimos. Sorry, volvemos. Vuelven. All right, dormir, which is also O to UE. UE. All right, so for dormir, duermo. So same ending as if you were conjugating an Arab verb. Duermes. Duerme. Dormimos. Duerme. Right? So I'm going to give you a minute to know these and to try the answers for the sentences, and then we'll take a break. Right. Okay. So yo cierro. That's the wrong color, but okay. Tú cierras la ventana. Close the window, please. Up here it says, I close the door before leaving. Ellos cierran. Okay. Yo vuelvo. Tú vuelvas. Vuelves. Sorry. Right? Nosotros volvimos. Yes, volvimos. Right? Yo duermo. I sleep 8 hours a night. Who is this person that sleeps 8 hours a night? Does that person really exist? Tú duermes. Los niños duermen. Right, great. Okay, so pedir is pido, pides, oops, pide. Then we go back to the PE as the stem, right? So the E is what changes. So it becomes pedo, yo pedo, I ask. Pides, tu pides, pide. Pedimos, piden, right? All right. Pidi is a very useful verb, of course. Like if you have to order something when you're asking a favor, use pidi. When you have to ask a question, what verb do you use for that one? So think about it. You'll tell me in a second. So jugar is the only verb in Spanish that changes from you to UE. That's the only stem changing verb like that, right? So juego, juegas, juega, jugamos, juegan, right? All right, so if we put in the answers, yo juego, tú juegas, mis amigos juegan. And if we go up for the pedir, yo pido, tú pides, ellos piden, right? Right. Right. So the other verb that means to ask in Spanish is preguntar. So preguntar is for questions. It's not stem changes, it's not irregular. Quite normal, right? But it's helpful to know that there are two verbs for to ask. We use one for questions and the other one when we're asking for something. All right, empezar to begin. So ita, IE, we just did this with cerrar. We will do one more example, but then I'll skip all the rest of the ita, IE. All right, so if we conjugate empezar, we get empiezo, empiezas, empieza. Empezamos, empiezan. Right? So la clase empieza. Right? Tú empiezas. Nosotros empezamos. Right? All right, so let's see. We've looked at E to IE verbs. We've looked at E to I. We've looked at O to UE. And we've looked at the one U to UE verb. Right? That's 4 groups of stem changing verbs we've looked at today. Okay, here we have a little exercise for us to try, in which we are just going to practice putting in the present tense. Some of them are irregular and some of them are very regular. So you're going to check back your notes to see which is which if you need to, right? Other than that, you're just going to try to fill in the blanks with what it's supposed to be, right? So, si hago something sobre los planetas y el espacio todo el tiempo. And the verb we need to conjugate is hablar. So Tiago would be él. So what would the answer be? Tiago what? We would take off the AR. And for él, we would add E, right? So Tiago habla. sobre los planetas y el espacio. He talks about planets and space all the time. Right. Okay, great. So go ahead, check out the rest of the verbs. You could send your answers in the chat. Some of you will finish it very quickly and some people will need more time, right? But everybody, please try. Okay, yo canto en todas las fiestas de cumpleaños. So I sing in all the birthday parties. Mariela, so she thinks. Now, pensar is a stem changing, is a IE. She piensa que no es buena idea salir esta noche. So it's not a good idea to go out tonight. 2, you drink natural juices or prefer soda. Take off the ER, we add ES, right? 2, bebes. Yo, take off the, well, no, not take off anything. Saber, the yo form is irregular. I know that, so yo sé, right? Usted, you are learning, right? You learn. Usted aprende. Oops, I left on the end. All right, nosotros vivimos cerca del centro histórico, right? Ustedes escriben CN. Los comerciantes suben, right? De suben. Okay, and then the last two are regular. Yo soy tu amigo, I am your friend, y estoy preocupado por ti. I'm worried for you. Right. Check it through, see if you have any questions, and tell me. Okay, no questions? Guys, you seem very tired today. What is going on? All right, so we're going to do some expressions with hacer. What expressions do you all know with hacer? No? All right, okay, let's just do some. You know, hace plus calor, frío, for weather, right? So weather expressions, you know it for weather expressions. Right? All right. What about to play a joke on someone? Have you ever met this expression, hacer una broma? To play a joke, to make a joke. Usually he's always talking about making a joke. To hurt someone, hacer daño a. This is a separate word. Put it over there. To pack a suitcase, hacer la maleta. To make friends, hacer amigos. To make peace, hacer las paces. To ask a question, hacer una pregunta. As well as preguntar is to ask a question, right? A little while ago, hace un poco, I'm putting this one up here, right? So you had to come back up here for it. Hace un poco, a little while ago. So something is happened a little while ago, you have a nice little idiomatic expression to say it, right? All right, I know I said 10, but I'm out of space. Well, I have space on top now. Hacer un viaje. To make a trip. All right, and last one, hacer, close to this, hacer una visita, to make a visit, to pay a visit. Just like you could use visitar as well. Right? Oh, yes, hacer la cama, to make the bed. All right, so we're gonna wrap up class here. Let's just remind ourselves what we did today. We looked at idiomatic expressions with tener and now with hacer. We revised conjugating verbs, stem changing verbs, right? And we did a bit of practice with verb conjugation. Right? So next week, we still have some more verbs to try with the stem changing verbs, and then we also have other types of questions we can take a look at, right? All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your evening. If you have questions or anything you want to request for next week, you could stay back and let me know.